Italian-born Luca Cumani is no stranger to the winners' enclosures around the world. In part one of our visit, we find out how he got to become the owner of Bedford House Stables in Newmarket.
I started training here. I was very lucky because in 1975, autumn 1975, when this place became available, England was in a recession, bad recession. It was the days of the 3-day week and the miners' strike, and so properties were going quite cheap, and so I was very lucky to be able to acquire it.
I remember coming to see you, I think a year ago or 2 years ago, very briefly, and I commented on how lovely and European and Italian it all looked. But you told me then this is basically how it was with the colourings and then the decor, etc.
Yeah, no, the decor was exactly the same. All we had to do is keep it up, and then, as you know, we built on because there are 45 boxes here, and now there's a total of 115.
Right, so you built on behind the original house, and what else have you done? There's a water tower there, I see, that obviously has been there for a very long time.
Yeah, that was a water tower with a well at the bottom, and they used to pump the water up into the tower, and then from there, natural pressure would disperse around. But now we're connected to the mains, and so the water tower remains as a feature.
And the horse walkers that you have, are they additional from your time?
Yeah, we put them in. I don't think they existed in 1975.
Probably not, no. And what about the area where the horses walk, first of all, and then canter, that furlong and a little bit, you said furlong and a quarter?
The covered ride,
yeah.
That was put in by a horse called Tolomeo, who won the Arlington Million for us. And at the time, that was the richest race a European horse had ever won. So with my percentage of that, we built a covered ride.
Right, that's the way to do it, isn't it? To get those big race winners and invest for the future.
Exactly right. Yeah, you always have to carry on investing. I mean, the upkeep of this yard is quite large because horses are great destroyers as well. So you know, they tend to destroy mangers, destroy doors, and so there's always a lot of upkeep to be done.
Well, when you first bought it in the 70s, 45 boxes, that's quite a small amount, wasn't it then?
Yes, but I started with 12 horses.
Right.
You never start with 45.
No.
But I was optimistic enough to think that I would fill it eventually. And sure enough, because we made a very good start, we were full within a year or two, and then we needed more boxes, and that's when we started building.
Whenever I go and see trainers, the younger trainers, the up-and-coming trainers especially, it's about getting a horse, a couple of horses that really put the name on the map. And what was the horse, or which were the early horses in the early days when it was a 12-horse yard that kind of got you famous here in Europe?
Well, the first year we had the second in the 1,000 guineas, a filly called Kunafa, and the first race we ever won as trainers was the Duke of York, which is a group race at York. So that was a start. And then in the second year, again we had the second in the guineas, in the 1,000 guineas, and the second and third in the Oaks. And so that got us really going, that put us on the map. Absolutely.
Now you come over here from Italy originally, where you've been involved in racing. Your father was a major trainer over there, and I believe you were with Sir Henry Cecil for a while. Is that when you first came over?
Well, I used to come my father used to send me for summer holidays, school holidays. And I had one summer holiday with Vincent O'Brien, and I had a couple with Johnny Winter, and then I started with Henry. But with Henry, then I started full time in '73 as pupil assistant, and then became assistant the following year.
And in those early years, how was that for you? Learning from one of the maestros of the industry.
Well, it was great. It was because I still am very enthusiastic about English racing, and to me it was an eye-opener and a revelation, and I was very privileged to work for Henry.
And Vincent O'Brien, he must have shown you a different way of training in those days.
That was early, and I was much younger. I think I was about 16, so I probably didn't take a lot in. But again, he had a wonderful place, which carries on today, even though it's been brought up to another standard. But Vincent was a genius, like none we've ever seen or might never see again. And so again, it was a great privilege to be there for 3 months.
And after learning your trade and setting yourself up, you've had a few assistant trainers here that have gone on done pretty well over the years as well. So
yeah,
learning and passing that on.
Yeah, we had quite a few. I mean, Chris Wall would have been the first one, and he's doing well. And then Christophe Clement, who's doing very well in the States. and David Sincock, Marco Botti, now Ed Walker, so, and Johnny Portman. I forget them all now. I hope I haven't forgotten any.
I think they're the ones that are really doing very well, aren't they? They've all picked up a little bit from yourself, and picked up from somewhere else, as I'm sure you did with.
Or probably they learned from me how not to do it.
Clearly not. As we were talking on the gallops this morning, you were counting out the countries where you'd had your group successes, and there are quite a few of them, aren't there? Many of them, in fact.
Well, there's 11 at the last count. 11 different countries in the world where we've had a group with us. So that's a good international record, if you like.
And how difficult is it for trainers, or how difficult was it in those days, because that would be spread over quite a few years, to organise that, to get all the logistics into place and spot the right races and know that the track may suit, the ground may suit, etc. The distance, obviously, you would know, but other things there that are away from Newmarket.
You learn as you go along, basically. And I had been racing in the States, and so I had a vague idea of what was going on in American racing. And I'd been to Breeders' Cup, and I've seen racing throughout Europe. The only thing I didn't know much about was Australia until I started going there. And in fact, although I haven't won a Melbourne Cup, I've been second twice, but we did win a Geelong Cup, which is a group race there. And then the other races you learn as you go along, and the logistics of travelling nowadays are very good, because the shippers are all very good and very competent, and it's not difficult at all. I mean, and you have your staff that's trained to know how to fly horses and what to do with them when they get to the other end. So it's not really difficult.
And what's the reception like in Australia when you turn up there trying to take their Australian dollars off them? The local trainers seem to be, that everyone wants to win, but they seem fairly tight-knit outfit. What's it like for an English/Italian trainer to turn up there and say, right, we're going to win this Melbourne Cup of yours?
Well, to begin with, especially sort of fueled by Bart Cummings, they were sort of, I wouldn't say hostile, but they were sort of a little bit antagonistic, and it was something, this invasion for the Melbourne Cup from Europeans is something that's gathered momentum over the last 6-7 years. And before them, it always was considered their race. So they're a bit sort of miffed as to why the foreigners are coming in trying to steal our race. Now I think they're accepting much more. Now they also have accepted that they're part of the broader racing community worldwide. And so the reception is pretty good. But quite interesting, when the first few years I was going to Australia, I used to be introduced to everybody as Luca Cumani, Newmarket trainer. Ever since my daughter Francesca has taken Australia by storm with her television work, I only get introduced as Francesca's father.
That's probably safer for you. If you ever do win the Melbourne Cup, you'll be able to get those Australian dollars out via your daughter. It'll be quite easy. But it's a tough race to win, isn't it? The Melbourne Cup, when you've been second a couple of times, and one of your neighbours, Ed Dunlop, was very close, second by a couple of pixels. Really tough to go and take a horse out there to win.
Yeah, it's a difficult race, in as much you must never forget there's 24 runners, so that in itself makes it more difficult. Makes it twice as difficult as if there were 12 runners. So it's difficult, and it's doable, as it's been proven. When you finish second, or as in the case of Dermot Weld, it's proven that it's doable. But it takes a very strange animal to be able to do it, because you basically need a horse that's on the up, but hasn't quite been at the top yet, because otherwise it gets too much weight, being a handicap. And you want a horse, as I say, that is on the up, rather than one that is already at as maximum level of rating. Also, you need a horse that will stay 2 miles, but has got the speed to win at 1.5 miles. And then you need a lot of luck in running. So it's a lot of factors that go together in giving you a Melbourne Cup winner. And
do you prefer to have an Australian jockey that sort of knows the track and knows the positioning, where to be at the right time, because that is so important, even in a race of that length?
I think there's something to be said for having an Australian jockey, and there's something to be said for having an English jockey if he knows the horse and has been associated with the horse a long time. So depending on the horse, really.